Welcome to episode 87 of Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. This week, the podcast finale.
In this week's episode, we look back on the 3 seasons of Star Trek's original series and the 6 motion pictures that followed to identify our favourite moments, characters and episodes, as well as picking out the things we weren't so fond of. We'll answer a stack of listener questions and confirm what our next project will be. But can we fit it all in one show? Or will critical questions remain unanswered?
To all mankind, may we never find space so vast, planets so cold, heart and mind so empty that we cannot fill them with love.
Good evening, Iain. How are we?
Good evening, Gerry. A little bit sad.
A bit emotional, tired and emotional. Is
That's
that
it.
code for something else?
Hey.
Were you out last night?
No, we're just at the end of a long run of work.
Yeah. It's been delayed. It's been no, what's the opposite of truncated? Elongated.
Yeah, extended.
Extended because of COVID and all that sort of stuff. So we should have been finished, 6 months ago?
Yeah, that's when folks stopped listening.
Yeah. It's just us now.
Yeah. Shouting into the ether. We opened with a toast there.
To all mankind.
Indeed. Slightly less ominous than it was in the actual episode.
That was a good episode, that.
Yeah, better than its Columbo namesake.
Yeah, pretty dire Columbo. But we're not here to talk about Columbo.
No, we're not. We're here to talk about Star Trek. Shall we do it?
Let's crack on.
Okay, so we've got listener questions, we've got our own questions, we've got our own thoughts and stuff. Where do you want to begin?
You lead.
Okay, so have your impressions of the series been changed by having seen the movies?
I would say yes, marginally, and for the better. I think I now have a greater appreciation, awareness of the Star Trek universe that has developed that I know that other people buy into and that I hadn't really appreciated before watching any of this. So on the original run of episodes, they don't develop that much. It's all very episodic.
Yeah.
And I was finding it difficult to marry that with the whole universe, the whole community of Star Trek and the Klingon languages and all this type of thing the cliches that you hear about. I wasn't sure why it was so expansive, and I think that the movies brought a lot more of that to it.
Bit more depth.
Bit more depth.
Because in the series sometimes they kind of skim past, like they'll have contact with an element, but that's it. The next week it's not mentioned.
Sure, and as we've discussed before, I mean, the Klingons, before I watched any Star Trek, the Klingons were a thing that I was aware of. And then you watch the original episodes, they're not quite as important as what I thought they would have been.
I think there's more Klingon movies than Klingon episodes, or at least in the ballpark.
Yeah. So yeah, things like that I thought they expanded upon in a positive manner.
That's good. So the next question I had was, do the movies enhance the series or detract from it? I don't think that the movies make the series worse.
No, for sure.
I think it builds on it.
It does. I think the movies enhance the TV show. I think we can see the characters have been developed, although sometimes to the point of caricature or cliche.
Okay.
We did bring that up in the movies. McCoy's now got to be grumpy. Scotty's got to do his thing about, I need more time or less time, and Spock's got to do his thing. I thought that obviously Kirk changed more than any of them in a different direction.
I thought it was quite a realistic development that Kirk had.
Yeah.
And it was well played. I thought that you can understand William Shatner pushing back a bit against going from like the action hero, the lead, to being almost an ensemble member and a less standout character, more a part of a group.
Yeah, it wasn't as pivotal. Everything didn't rest on his shoulders in terms of the on-screen presence and the plot itself.
Yeah, and the setup wasn't all he's the captain, he makes the decisions. It was more, we've stolen a ship, we're all in this together, or we're all stuck on this planet together. It was less one man's.
Yeah, and I think that may have also had something to do with the fact it's a bit like the A-Team syndrome. I think. Okay. That's it's quite infamous there that George Peppard was the star prior to the show. He was the only star.
Right.
He was certainly Oscar nominated. I'm not sure he won an Oscar, but big movie star and TV star as well. Star was on the wane, however.
Right.
But he got this TV role, and turned out after a few weeks at BA, obviously he stole the show and he was the fans, the kids' favourite, and
Of course.
they fell out over that. I don't think he liked the fact that he was being overshadowed. Now, I'm not saying that William Shatner had the same attitude. However, I think that during the show he was meant to, in his eyes, he was the star, he was the captain. But obviously Spock became a firm fan favourite, and I think during the movies they obviously then built upon the other characters who became fan favourites, and some of the limelight was taken off Shatner, and I think it worked well, and I'm not saying that he had an issue with that, but I think you can see them say, okay, wait a second, we've got other stars here, other characters who the fans love, we don't have to rely on Kirk.
That's right.
To lead.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
If you had to pick out one standout moment from the movies, what would it be?
Andrea the sex robot.
She's not in the movies.
Oh, from the movies, sorry. The movies, one standout moment. I think the obvious one that you would go to would be Spock's death scene.
Okay.
But
not the face of God?
The face of God, not so much.
No.
The whales.
Yeah.
Spock molesting whales.
George and Gracie.
Interfering with them, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, them and on Earth trying to interact with people of our time, the 20th century.
Yeah, that was all good stuff.
The punk on the bus.
Yes, he actually showed up again in Star Trek Picard for anyone who's watching that.
Did they?
Yeah.
Good. As the same
characters, same actor.
That's nice.
Set in 2034, so what, 40 years later.
Was he still a punk?
Yes.
And
he's still had the orange hair and the mohawk.
And was he on a bus?
And he was on a bus listening to his Ghetto Blaster.
Really?
He was told to turn it off, and he apologised and put it off if they just like that song.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. Before we move on to listener questions, we'll give them one final reminder of our social accounts. So we're at Trek Podcast on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Our website's a StarTrekPodcast.com, and our YouTube channel, you can just search for that. And
for listeners in the future, they'll all be in the future now, those accounts will still be active, we still
maintain all of our old podcasts as well as best we can.
Yeah, so feel free in 2 or 3 years' time to ask questions.
We won't remember what we've said in the podcast.
Well, that's the thing, we still got that for Columbo, which is nearly 10 years old now, and people will say,
how could you think that? I don't know.
I disagree with that point you made in
2013. Yeah.
No idea what I said, yeah. Remind me.
Still, hopefully we'll hear from people.
Hopefully, yeah.
Also, the Columbo Podcast YouTube channel is going to have all the episodes on it as well, and that's where you'll find our next podcast if you're a YouTube fan.
Yes, we're going to consolidate, have everything on the one channel.
Makes sense.
It does.
We got a duplicate content warning this week because our own channel is duplicating our own content.
Let's take them to court.
Yes. Sue.
Ruin them. Take them for everything they're worth.
Right, shall we take some listener questions?
Why not?
We've got a ton of them to get through.
Alright.
So, in no particular order, Chris on Twitter wants to know your favourite one-off character.
Yeah, I had a think about this. You mentioned this was coming up. I can't honestly give one specific character, so can I have a few?
Okay, how many you want?
3 or 4.
Okay, and you
but 2 of them are the same sort of thing.
2 of them are the same sort
well,
of...
not really. Okay, I'll explain. Harry Mudd, mentioned him before.
Yep, he's not a one-off character.
He's not a one-off character, so...
Okay.
He's almost a one-off character. I think maybe Chris meant a non-regular cast member. Harry Mudd was brilliant, very charismatic. Mentioned him before. Fun to watch, and it's always good to see him on the screen. A bit of a scamp, a bit of a rogue.
He is.
But
incorrigible.
Incorrigible. Fun character.
He was.
Not someone you necessarily want your daughter to go out with.
No, well, I don't care.
What my daughter does?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. After that, I'm going to go a bit left field. Is that a baseball term, left field?
Yeah.
What does that mean? I mean, I know what it means, but how does it relate to baseball? Why is left field?
Well, I don't know why left field is what... You don't expect something to come from left field. I don't know. Probably because it's the furthest point from home plate, so it's quite difficult to get a throw from there.
Right.
Maybe to get somebody out. That's only a guess, though.
Maybe our American listeners or baseball fans can confirm.
Maybe.
If they can be bothered. To be honest, I'm not really that. Do it if you want.
Yeah, we don't care. It's fine.
Well, I'm interested.
You're keen to find out, but don't want to Google it.
Can't be bothered doing that.
Yeah. Right, carry on.
Alexander in Plato's Stepchildren.
Okay, yes, the short guy.
Short guy. He was like Harry Mudd very charismatic, great, a big screen presence. A joy to watch, funny and quite charming.
Okay. Is that your full list?
No.
Who else have you got?
2 more, but they're
They're both
combined.
sexual, but
No, don't get me started. A double act
okay.
of Gary Seven and Roberta.
Okay, yes, from Assignment Earth.
Yes, and we discussed how it was meant to be a backdoor pilot, I think.
Yes, it was. They were going to have a wee spin-off show.
Didn't work, yeah, but I could have watched more of them.
Yeah, they were entertaining. That cat, who knows what was going on with that. Ooh.
I'm not making the joke, no.
Okay. I'm sure you've done it plenty of times.
Oh.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. Hope yourself.
Okay, so I would go for a couple of characters played by the same actor. So the Romulan commander in Balance of Terror and Sarek.
Yeah.
And Journey to Babel, both played by Mark Leonard.
Good choice.
Okay, Dr. Noah on Twitter.
Is he a real doctor? I want to see qualifications. Is Dr. Noah a real doctor?
So you're not answering the question until he texts us or tweets us his...
What I will do is I'll answer the question, and if I don't get some sort of response,
to take it back.
I will edit it back out for future. So this might only be up for a little while. But yeah, Dr. Noah, show me your qualifications.
He wants to know whether you have agreed to do 7 seasons and 4 movies of The Next Generation.
Well, this will be easier to edit. Nope, I have not.
It's a good show.
I'm sure. It'll
be worth doing in the future.
Yeah. 7 seasons, 4 movies. I mean, how many episodes is that?
I'm sure somebody knows.
Yeah, hundreds.
About 20 per season.
Yeah.
So 150.
You do the math.
140 to 150. It's not that much more. It's the same as doing Columbo and Star Trek.
Yeah, that's quite intimidating. That's about 3 and a half
but then
years.
you get to the Deep Space Nine after that, which is the same again.
Plus a few gaps for...
Because if we're doing Next Gen, we're definitely doing Deep Space Nine, because that's my favourite.
So, unfortunately, no.
There you go, people. It wasn't me. Right, Dermot asks us on Twitter, and I've paraphrased this slightly because...
I mean, you've changed it to suit your own...
just to make it answerable.
Right, okay.
He says, do you prefer the old-fashioned TV style, retro charm and episodic approach for dipping in and out of over more modern, shiny, serialised shows? Yeah,
I think for dipping, certainly. It's easy background casual watching, so you don't have to really know what's going on in a prior episode or what's coming up or who said what and who's done that to what and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think there's a comfort to non-art type shows that you can just pick up and enjoy as and when.
But then in the days of streaming, it's much easier to watch a serialised show in order.
But sometimes you don't want to commit to... I mean, for example, with Columbo, I don't want to sit down and have to watch every episode in order. I'll just fire on what takes my fancy that day. And also it's quite good for things like, you can just, depending how you watch it, you can randomly select an episode.
True. That's true.
You can let the software, do that for you.
Yeah?
Yeah, for dipping, for sure.
Okay. Rich on Twitter wants to know your top and bottom 3 shows from the original on, and Rob on Facebook has asked your favourite episode and why.
Okay. Do you want to go first this time?
No.
No?
I mean, I can do.
Yeah, you go for it.
I would stick to what I'd said before, so Balance of Terror with the Romulan Commander is probably my favourite, and I liked Journey to Babel as well.
That's only 2.
That's only 2. Do I need to do 3?
Yep, and your bottom?
It's a tough call. The third one on my favourites, I like Amok Time when they go back to Vulcan. That's good fun.
Mm-hmm.
But there's quite a lot of episodes that I like.
Yeah.
In terms of the worst ones, The Alternative Factor, very clearly. The Children Shall Lead.
Mm-hmm.
And Journey to Eden.
The Way to Eden.
The Way to Eden, sorry, yes. Journey to Babel. Yes, sorry, The Way to Eden.
Okay. A bit of crossover here.
Okay.
Now, I should say, this is the thing. Even though, obviously, I'm considered one of the world's leading experts on Star Trek now, I think
I haven't done this yet.
I haven't done this yet, you'd agree. I mean, there's not that many people
I've watched them all in order.
And
there's a lot of people who think they're experts.
Yeah, and talked about them in depth. So, yeah, I would probably put myself in the top 10, maybe top 5 in a good day.
Percent.
Anyway, I have only ever watched each episode once.
Yeah.
And some of them are obviously now about 2 years ago.
That's true.
Since I've watched it. So a lot of the time I still, I've not got every episode in my head. You need to tell me that's the one with him or her. I mean, I know it's a sex robot, obviously. But I need to have a quick look in IMDb and go, yeah, okay, that's one of those characters. Then my mind is refreshed. So that's the problem I sometimes have. What I will do is I'll rewatch now that I can do it for fun as opposed to...
You don't have to stick to the order and take notes.
Which makes it more of a chore.
Yeah.
But I would say, and I maybe I'll contradict what I said back in November with the first wrap-up.
Yeah, probably. I probably already have as well, so don't worry.
Well, these things they're
fluid.
They're dynamic, they're not. So I'm going to go with the obvious City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh, of course, yeah.
A piece of the action, maybe not quite as obvious, but I really enjoyed that episode because I like the one set in more sort of contemporary time.
Sure.
And Mudd's Woman. I like Harry Mudd, so why not? Can I have another one?
Is it the Wild West one?
Yes, Spectre of the Gun.
There you go.
And if we're going to throw in a movie, I'll go for The Voyage Home with the Whales.
Okay, I would, of the movies, my favourites were 3 and 6, but 4 is also good.
Okay. Ones I did not like, Way to Eden.
Yes.
The Alternative Factor.
That's the same as us.
Yeah. And there was another one, I mean, obviously Spock's Brain, I didn't mind as much as what apparently the people at large in general think.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Charlie X.
You think that's worse than the children pumping their fists and mind controlling people, and then that lawyer guy showing up?
I'm not saying it's a terrible episode in and of itself, but Charlie annoyed me.
Okay.
So because of that,
I think you're going to get hate mail for that. People love Charlie X.
They love him.
Well, they love the episode. It's a classic.
But he ruins it for me. Really disliked him.
But he's not as dislikable as those other children.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll let you have your own opinions.
And the first movie, if we're talking movies.
The first movie, I think we were too kind to it on reflection when we did the episode.
Well, I had nothing in terms of movies to benchmark it against.
Yeah.
So
the others were all better.
I think
Even 5 by a distance.
Yeah, I would say. It was also very long.
It was far too long.
Yeah.
And it introduced characters for no reason.
However, did have a
sex robot. Yeah.
Anyway.
Back to Twitter, Raven says, I wish you would do The Next Generation. This was a blast. Well, thank you, Raven. That's not really a question. So if you read the instructions next time, we'll maybe give you a proper response.
Yes. Again, I mean, I'm happy to watch these things casually on my own.
Yeah.
Like, I will. I think I'll probably give it a glance. You see, did you not say to me, however, that like the first season's not great, and then you have to...
It takes... I mean, there's good episodes, but it doesn't get consistently good until really season 3.
See, that just puts me off. If it doesn't
the benefit is season 2 is really short because there's a writer's strike.
Right, okay. But it's going to be a hard one. You sit down, you watch 3 or 4 episodes.
What you should maybe do is Google like the essential episode guide and just pick out the ones that are essential.
Nah, I'm a wee bit OCD with this type of thing. If I was going to watch it, I'd watch it all.
They're only 43 minutes, so you should be able to rattle through them. You know, a television hour, which was shorter in the 80s and 90s.
Sure.
Our old friend Doug on Twitter says, which episode do you think is most political / he means woke, I'm pretty sure, and may still be pertinent today?
Yeah, okay. I refer back to what I said. I have trouble distinguishing at this point all the different episodes. Now, I remember obviously very well that there were many political issues. We discussed them.
We did.
One I think that stands out is Friday's Child, where they were fighting over mining rights in other lands or another planet.
Yep. Private Little Wars again on the anti-Vietnam
episode.
And obviously they let that be your last battlefield with the black, black people.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's lots. I mean, I think it is most of the episodes of either a political or a moral.
Yeah, and it's mostly progressive political. There's one, I think, Omega Glory is slightly fascist, but even the one with the actual Nazis in it was
sure. But we have discussed, and I think that we did see the characters change. I mean, I think at the start it was all about, what do you mean? Use people here with your happy existence. You're not progressing enough. You're not making. You're not developing. That's no life. You'd be better off dead. And I remember, us discussing that and saying, well, no, maybe they're just quite content, and we don't have to judge them by the standards of our modern capitalist societies.
Sure. Okay. Easy one for you now. Sean on Facebook wants to know your take on Galaxy Quest.
Not seen it. Previously it didn't appeal to me because I hadn't watched Star Trek or a lot of sci-fi. So I think that I would appreciate it more now, and I'll be happy enough to watch it at some point in the near future.
And you can't beat Alan Rickman, but he's cancelled out by Tim Allen, so
yeah.
What are you going to do? Sigourney Weaver's good.
Did you enjoy the movie?
No, I didn't. I didn't like it.
Why not?
Just
Answer Sean's question.
Oh, my take is that I don't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I tried to watch it, sat through it, and didn't enjoy it. I didn't find it entertaining. I thought it was a bit silly.
Silly? I don't mind silly. I mean, silly, it's hard, but silly can be fun or it can be annoying.
Yeah, it was annoying.
Was it?
For me, I know a lot of people like it, but it wasn't for me.
I'll give it a watch, and then when I do, you can let Sean on Facebook know my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Carrie Sue on Facebook says, did you have to throw so much shade on Kirstie Alley for being a supporter of former President Trump? He was a much better president for the United States than the current occupant.
Well, Carrie Sue, the answer is no, didn't have to.
Stuart on Twitter, of the 3 main uniform types we've covered, the ones they were in the TV show, the ones they were in the motion picture, and the maroon ones they were from then on, which is your favourite?
What's yours?
Oh, the motion picture, obviously.
Obviously, I'm going with the TV show.
Yeah, I would say the TV shows. The motion picture ones were terrible.
Yeah.
Skin tight, sock in the pants type stuff.
What?
We should say thanks to Stuart. He's been a big supporter of the show. He always retweets our episodes every week and he comments on them. And thanks for that.
Yeah, he does indeed. Thank you.
Ramona on Twitter, this was a wee while ago, said she's still wondering where you and I met and started doing podcasts together.
Yeah, now, talking about people who have been big supporters, Ramona was always someone who contributed a lot and spoke to us regularly. I hope we gave her a DM, because she sometimes DMs us. We noticed we hadn't seen her around since December.
Yeah.
Now, we'd taken a break for a while over Christmas, so we hadn't noticed immediately. But we dropped her a DM asking if everything was okay. She's no longer on any social media platforms. Hopefully she's okay, and that's just a decision that she's decided to come off social media. But if she is listening...
let us know you're okay.
Yeah, sure.
We do worry.
Yeah.
Should we answer our question?
Sure.
We met in a strip club.
You were on stage. I was drunk.
Yes. It was just one of those things.
No, short answer is we worked together and I asked Ian if he fancied doing a Columbo podcast and he said yes, and we've been happily...
This is our 10th year of doing it.
Yeah, is it a 10th year?
Well, we started in 2013.
Did we? Did we? No, I thought it was 14.
Was it 14?
I think it was 14, yeah.
Whether we actually started doing the planning and stuff. Was it 2014? Either way, 8th, 9th, 10th. It's been a long time.
Yeah, so working together and doing Columbo, then one thing led to another.
And we're here.
Yeah.
We've got no better hobbies to take up, so...
Well, I have, but my wife doesn't like them anymore.
Right, back to some of our own questions. Were you disappointed by the lack of sex robots in the movies?
Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously, the more sex robots, the better. However, we got one in the first movie, so 1 in 6. I think that's about the average. With a
decent ratio.
Yeah, I think during the original run we had a sex robot every 6 or so episodes. So
fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Do you think the characterization was consistent from the series into the films?
As mentioned, I think that they were slightly exaggerated in the movies, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think for movies you do have to go bigger in all aspects, in terms of the plot, the special effects, the imagery. Yeah, so the characters were exaggerated, and I think it might well be because they are trying also to appeal to people who haven't really watched the TV show.
Of course. So
you can't be too subtle. This is the guy who is very scientific. This is the moody one. He is the whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that it was consistent but expanded upon, and I think it worked well. What about you?
Yeah, I thought there were some issues in the first movie with Spock in particular, but they were trying to do something a bit different in that one. We'll talk about that in a moment. And I can understand why it went that way. I think from then on, particularly from 3 on, they kind of got a hold of it a bit better.
Yeah.
So like I say, leading into that next question, what did you make of the decision to have Kirk made more sort of vulnerable and out of control from the start of the movies?
I liked it.
A bold step.
It was a bold step. It was good to see him have a bit of depth added to his character, a bit of backstory as well, with, for instance, David being brought into things and giving him a bit more agency, I suppose, in what he was doing. I also thought it was quite an important aid to the plot, or the plots in the movies.
Yeah.
Because, as we talked about earlier, if you just have effectively a superhero, He'll sort it all. He'll save the day. Don't worry. He can't make a wrong decision. It's a bit boring, a bit predictable.
Sure.
So I think to give other people more agency themselves and a more prominent role, you have to divvy up the workload a little bit, so to speak.
Sure. You know, I agree. I mean, it would have been easy to just churn out something that was really similar to the series.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the influence of Star Wars success as well has had an effect on that. It's a different type of movie, and they've obviously taken some notes from that.
Yeah. Tell me, was there ever any discussion or chance of having any of the writers from the TV show to write the script for the movies? I mean, you get DC Fontana. Was she never?
I don't believe that was. Obviously, Gene Roddenberry was heavily involved in the first one, but then they brought in. They had to because the first one wasn't as big a success as they thought.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was commercially, but not critically.
Yeah.
They had to change things. To Nicholas Meyer came in, and him and Herb Bennett were then the main guys.
Sure. That's just interesting. If you've got this team of writers who have written for these characters,
yeah,
it's like guys you wanted to do a movie.
No, it very much seems to me that they looked for people with film experience.
Yeah.
It's almost a different industry, isn't it? Or at least at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it is a different industry, but you find sometimes people move from TV to...
Yeah, I just think that's not what they did here.
Okay, clearly.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite overall moment in the series and the movies and everything put together? The whole run. We talked about the movies moments.
We talked about the movie with Spock's death. No, I wouldn't say necessarily I've got a favourite moment in the original episodes. I would say that all the scenes where Kirk goes full shat are fantastic to watch. Iconic, yes.
When Scotty murders women as well.
Stand out, not necessarily favourite.
Okay. Memorable, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's an episode that, again, I've only watched it. I'd like to watch that one again with Scotty being the Ripper and getting away with it. I'd like to see how that stands up.
If they'd left it a bit more ambiguous, that would have been more fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's clearly did it.
I went back to Netflix earlier today to grab some clips for this podcast episode, and it was crazy to see how young McCoy looked in one of the scenes, yeah, and Scotty as well, but wow.
Yeah, the time passed. Wait till you see him in the first episode of Next Generation.
Okay.
He's playing him, the same character at 130 or whatever.
Right.
You've already answered my next question about whether you intend to watch any more Star Trek, so I'll just finish up maybe by saying or asking if there's anything that you find particularly fascinating about the show or the movies.
I would say, and I think I mentioned this during the episode with the Gorn, that fascinating is a very specific feeling. It's a very specific emotion, I suppose. And had I watched the show as a kid back in the 60s and even as a kid when I was growing up, I think it would have fascinated me more. So I think it's not the show itself, or not what the content, not the plot is fascinating. I think I was more enamoured with the characters, with how, looking at a show that I know is culturally important, that has such a wide-reaching impact on so many people. So watching it and trying to understand retrospectively, knowing what I do know, why it's so well loved and beloved.
Yeah.
That's what I found the most fascinating, most interesting, and to answer it, I can definitely see why. I can totally appreciate it, and I feel as if, I've got an affinity with these characters now.
Yeah,
it's when I first started, it was like, these are these guys that all these nerds and geeks love. Okay, I watch this, and now I think I've got an understanding of their characters, their psyche, what drives them, how they would act, how they would react, what goes against their character. I think I could spot, and we have discussed when things didn't quite work. So yeah, I've got a real fondness now for the characters in the show that I didn't have at the start.
Great. Before we wrap up and let folk know what's happening next, we should take some time to thank the people who've listened to the show, retweeted us, shared us on other platforms, and got in touch over the run.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, we would not be doing this if it wasn't for our fantastically loyal listeners. I hope that some, at least, will join us on our next venture when we boldly go.
Yeah, that'd be great to have folk along to the next show. We say this every time we finish a show. We'd like to bring as many people as possible along. It doesn't always work out that way, but it'd be great to have as many of these people who've been listening to this show join us on our next project.
Well, I'm hoping. I mean, sometimes we jump from genre to genre.
We do.
It isn't necessarily the best of fits, but I'm thinking that going from Star Trek, which is science fiction, to our next project, there should be some crossover.
You would hope so.
So what is it?
Okay, as we discussed in the last wrap-up show, it's going to be Quantum Leap. We're not doing anything before it. We're going straight into Quantum Leap. The podcast is going to be called The Leap Home.
The what?
The Leap Home.
Now, where can people listen, subscribe, tweet, and all that sort of good stuff?
At theleaphome.com. Also, Leap Home Podcast on social media.
So that's across what? Twitter,
Facebook, Instagram.
Snapchat?
No.
How have we got to start doing Snapchat? It's all about Snapchat.
We're never doing Snapchat.
What about Periscope? Is that still a thing?
It's not a thing. You've asked me this every week for the last 6 months.
Have I?
Yeah.
Okay. My age.
Periscope.
When will people be able to...
Already,
I
hope.
Really?
I would like to think so. There should be a test episode up on the feed, which we will link to from the existing feeds as well to help folk find it.
But no, we won't be putting out regular content for a while.
No, but you can subscribe early so that as soon as it starts to come out, you get it.
Yeah, I'm trying to clarify for the listeners here. So
people understand how podcasts work. They've been listening to.
No. They might think that we're going to be putting out regular episodes from like next week.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a wee gap, but we will put a short test episode out to set up the feed so you can subscribe to it at theleaphome.com.
That's what to do. So what you need to do is follow us on all the social channels, maybe not Snapchat, and you can subscribe on your podcast subscription services.
There will be a button for whatever one you like to
subscribe. Use. You won't be getting content regularly straight away, but probably within what?
A few weeks.
3 weeks, a month tops.
2 months tops, let's say.
We always say that, we're always late. But no, I think we will. We're going to have a couple of weeks off, then record maybe 2 or 3 episodes in the bank.
And then start releasing.
Yeah, so probably around about a month's time or something like that.
And then we're going to summer holidays and we'll miss a few weeks.
That's what the bank's for.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think that's covered it. We've got what we're doing. We've got what we're calling it. We've got where they can find it.
Uh-huh.
If you've got any questions, people, you can ask us on the existing social channels. We will point you in the right direction.
We will indeed. So, is that us?
Yeah. So until then,
cheerio.
Bye. Live long and prosper.
After a time, you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting. It is not logical, but it is often true. Spock here. Stand by to beam up.